Hey, what's up? So, yeah, this is going to be a short one. It's not going to be long. I couldn't stay on before, but I was glad that Lance from the Surfs TV was able to come on. But yeah, there was a couple of things I wanted to talk about, but I had an appointment, so I could not stay on. But yeah, a couple of quick things I wanted to talk about. And let's see. I want to talk about how bad the media is just right now when it comes to just falling asleep. Right now, the media is very much falling asleep in this time of Biden. Oh, I'm gonna talk about something I was saying at the end of the last thing where I was saying I didn't have a Haitian accent. People were saying I do. I do have an accent. It's just not a Haitian one. I think if anything, it sounds weirdly Canadian. But Haitian people is like tomorrow you're gonna make me crazy. I don't, you know. Yeah, but it's a different accent. Yeah, so that's what I was saying because everybody has an accent. I wasn't saying I don't have an accent. I just don't. Uh, the Haitian accent is very very specific. You know, um, but let's see. This is what I wanted to talk about. Yamish Alcindor. Speaking of someone who's Haitian, she said her family is from a good family in Haiti as well, but a lot of talk of liberal American exceptionalism is coming back. That's coming back big time. And Yami said some stuff that I thought was crazy. I was shocked that she said this, but here it is. Now she had a bunch of smoke when, Donald Trump was president, but if you check her out now, this is about President Trump, but this is what she says. And that was the crazy part. She was talking about Trump, and she was saying what Trump is doing is not American. He's yeah, so Trump's trying to in a country like ours that exports democracy, he's here he wants democracy to be overturned, that being anti-democratic is not the American way, and what we do is export democracy. We do anything but, and it kind of makes me, oh, Damn it. Oh, well, hold on. Sorry to waste y'all's time. This is what I'll do. I'll jump to the end. I won't make you sit through the whole thing again. Let's see. I made y'all sit through that for nothing. Let's try that one more time. We're going to jump to the end.
They also say that this underscores why it's dangerous for President Trump to stay in office. Instead, they say that they're focused on the coronavirus pandemic, on the President-elect Biden's first 100 days. They also, of course, have a lot of work to do because they have not named an attorney general. So many other things on their plate, but it is striking to see the President of the United States in a country like ours that exports democracy say here that he wants democracy to be overturned.
Yeah, so it's striking that America is doing something anti-democratic. That what America does is export democracy, and basically that just kind of shows what we're in for. Under Biden, like these people think what America normally does is great, and that anything bad that happened is very much a product of Biden. It's not a product of the actual. It's not a product of the actual American system. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see, because you're already seeing pieces of this, and I'm going to show stuff that they were saying during inauguration that is nuts. Right here, there's an article that was pretty good. It was at Mint Press News, and by Alan McLeod, and he saved a bunch of this. So this guy put John Harwood, Trump to Biden means going from lies to truth, ignorance to knowledge, immorality to decency, cruelty to empathy, corruption to public service. And this is a senior CNN official. Yeah, so that's CNN's senior White House correspondent. This guy put, this team truly understands optics. These images will inspire our friends and shake our foes. And that was pretty interesting. Megyn Kelly even said from Fox, "Today I feel deep love for our country and am praying for President Biden, Vice President Harris, and for all of us as we navigate what comes next." So it's funny, even Fox News is getting in on it. But this is, again, Yamiche is added again. Listen to what Yamiche says here.
Talk about Joe Biden's empathy and humanity, to talk about diplomacy being back. It is all an.
Let me double check this time. The sound is playing this time, right? Yeah, Megan Blackface is okay. Before I continue, the sound's working, right? I'm just gonna keep playing it.
Implicit rebuke of Donald Trump's foreign policy stewardship over the last 4 years.
That's right. And then just saying that they're going to do their jobs and be good stewards of America's role in this world and focus on American diplomacy, that in and of itself, being a rebuke of President Trump is underscores what we've all been living through in the last 4 years, which is a president who wanted to be more isolationist, who wanted to pull back. What we saw today, I was sitting in that room in Wilmington. I was thinking about the fact that Joe Biden, in some ways, for supporters, is fulfilling the promises that he made on the campaign trail. He said he wanted to have a cabinet that looked like America, and there were people there on that stage.
So far, so good.
Talking about all of their different accolades and their experience, but they were also talking about their families who survived the Holocaust, who survived coming from Cuba and fleeing communists, who talked about having gumbo diplomacy, cooking Southern food, as the United Nations ambassador was saying. All of those things are what America is about. It's this melting pot.
Again, American exceptionalism. Like, this is what America is about. This is coming back to the real America.
Other thing I'll just say is I was talking to a Democrat who just said this also felt like the Avengers. It felt like we're being rescued from this craziness that we've all lived through from the last 4 years. And now here are the superheroes to come and save us all.
David Pleth.
And what's funny, everyone just nodded, laughed, but yeah, here are the superheroes to save us all. It feels like the Avengers. Yeah, so I thought, okay, this is a grown adult White House correspondent saying that, and everybody is just, woo, okay. And someone
thing that
else.
was, to me, so striking about today was that kind of comforting sense, even with the masks, even with the distancing, even without the crowd, those shots inside Statuary Hall that we're familiar with, from every inauguration, the sight of the Clintons and the Bushes and the Obamas, the Avengers, sort of the Marvel superheroes back up there together, all in one place. Well, with their friend Joe Biden, all of them, I think, feeling like that all of them sharing that same view that a lot of Americans had, which is that, we did narrowly avert catastrophe in America, and that they were all there to kind of to buttress their buddy Joe Biden and see him in some ways as the natural and necessary corrective to what's been going on. And I think that,
I mean, that's enough of that. Yeah, so he called them the Avengers, and so all his friends were there to back him up as he saved the day. Yes, yeah. So more of the same nonsense. There was a ton of that going around, and it was just really cringe. It was beyond cringe, and it's kind of funny. It's like I'm not like gaping for Trump in any shape or form, but the bias is kind of funny though, because yeah, the way that everybody is being very clear in their uh acting like this is the coming down from the skies, the Justice League or the Avengers, and I'm very curious what we're going to be dealing with for the next 4 years. And this goes to show, like, I'm not saying. I mean, the difference is like everybody knows Fox is pretty biased, but I just think it's funny how these guys don't get called in the same way, because what was funny was Yamish herself later on, I mean, at a different time, was saying this. She was saying that she was very much going to ask the very tough questions of Biden when the time came, and she wasn't going to change at all. And someone said this is the people's rapture. Yeah, that's totally what it is. It's gonna be platitude city, like someone said. But um hopefully I could find it pretty this stupid site. Actually, I don't feel like dealing with this. But basically, I'll just tell you what she said, because that thing's gonna be a pain in the butt to get rid of all those pop-ups. But basically, she was asked on MSNBC before the inauguration what was going to change, and she was promising she's going to ask the same tough questions that she would of Trump. There's going to be no bias and all that. And then when the rapture actually happened, she was giddy and talking about it's like the Avengers, and it's not just about her attitude toward Biden, but her attitude toward America in general is troublesome to me. This idea that, and sometimes I wonder if it has to do with maybe coming from a different country as well, because I think sometimes when you come from immigrants, you get really drilled into your head that America is a land of opportunity, because you're thinking about that it's where your parents were able. But then again, her parents are well off in Haiti. She's not like, she doesn't come from that type of, but who knows? I don't know. But yeah, sycophantic news television. Yeah. But that was just some stuff that I wanted to share, that I meant to share earlier, but we didn't have time. I had to leave. That's it. But anyway, we'll be back. We'll be back. Oh, one more thing. This is another thing I want to share, and then we'll be done. Los Angeles Times did an article, and this is a perfect example of what I say about how you can't really get any type of real news about things like Black Lives Matter from the mainstream legacy media, because these people hire their friends and family in the media, and their cronies, because like it's all like kind of like a blue check mafia, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna say all that about her family, but her family is like very accomplished. I don't think her family is like oligarchs or anything, but her family is very accomplished in Haiti. Same thing, same thing with this other woman who's with Biden. I forget her name, but my mother was telling me about her family. Her family is Karina Saint-Pierre. That family is pretty well off too. But remember that twerk video on MSNBC, not MSNBC, a twerk video on Martin Luther King Day, MLK Day, where this girl twerks in front of the Washington Monument, and I said it was very phallic, and there was chains, and it had that kind of slave play, race play thing, and it wasn't even originally done for Martin Luther King Day. They just debuted it. So this lady, Makita Easter from Los Angeles Times, writes, twerk video celebrating MLK faces a backlash, but are critics missing the point? And like, what point are they missing? And it says the series was inspired by a set of photos from 1967 Ebony magazine showing King relaxing in Jamaica with his wife Coretta Scott King. Colors and Limar were also moved by the artist of Trisha Hersey, blah blah. Um, and it talks about who inspired them and everything. But what does any of this have to do with the video? Okay, so far it's nice to know it was inspired by so and so and King's vacation to Jamaica. I still don't understand what the vacation to Jamaica has to do with this. But it says when the social justice organization posted Twerk on Washington to its Instagram, along with an artist statement from Simmons describing the video as advocating for the decolonization of over-sexualizing Black women's bodies to reclaim an ancient sacred dances of liberation and wellness, a flood of backlash immediately followed. And it talks about 1.2 million views, 5,000 comments, mostly negative, calling it tasteful, disrespectful, embarrassing, and her personal Instagram was exploding for 3 hours. Then it goes into when she recorded it in 2019, Independence Day, and that she did it in the National Mall because of the area's history, a space for protest, but also a site of oppression for Black Americans. And then it says, and this is more of restating what the post already said. She's not adding anything new. She's just restating what the post already said that nobody cared about, which is it's supposed to reclaim traditional dances on American soil. And then the author puts this as oppression of Black women. That's what they say that this backlash is about. Even though a lot of the people upset with this thing were Black women themselves. It wasn't like it was all just men. It was by and large a ton of Black women as well as men who thought this was tacky. So this person goes, in the age of Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B's sex positive WAP, it's time to really start questioning when we get up in arms about our sexuality, really taking a good hard look at ourselves, Simmons said. When are we responding to white gaze? When are we responding to self-hate? So basically, thinking this thing is tacky is self-hate. If you think it's tacky, you're actually I'm surprised they didn't bring up Tory Lanez shooting Megan Thee Stallion. That's a big deal to bring up too, for no reason whenever they're trying to defend something. Yeah, so Patrice Cullor said, I did not at all see this piece as a sexualized piece. It felt like high performance, high art conversation with the March on Washington. It felt like a perfect fit for the series. Deep-rooted aversion to the video is wrapped up in misconceptions about twerking, a devaluation of Black social dances, and respectability politics, said scholars who study Black dance and feminism. So basically, Black people who have a problem with this don't understand twerking. So, which is interesting. The idea that black people don't understand twerking, and that they actually are suffering from hate if they don't like this. It said in the author of this piece goes back to 2013 Times Times column from the LA Times that described um, twerking in a negative way. And it says the dance actually traces back at least to the early 1990s in black communities in New Orleans, wrote dance scholar and educator Takia Nur Amin. People know from New Orleans. People were even saying that in the comments when they were saying that that's a bad twerk and we don't think she's even from New Orleans. People know it's from New Orleans. Like what are you talking about? So there's this whole pretentious education on what twerking means and where it comes from and how it has a strong resemblance to the West African traditional dances like Mapuka, described as La Danse de Fusia, and the Ivory Coast, and then talks about Miley Cyrus twerking at the MTV Music Awards. And because the dance involves a black woman's behind, it's often immediately interpreted as sexual or as a declaration of hypersexuality. But twerking is also a form of self-expression, joy, pleasure, and freedom. Twerk on Washington wasn't offensive to Amin, and it's like, what does this mean? Because the scholar says it's okay. You found a scholar who thinks it's fine, it invalidates all the other black people who thought it was tacky and stupid, and it's kind of weird. The kind of, in a way, insulting black people by saying they don't even understand their own culture or what it's about or their own feelings. And this is a good question. Let's see if Trauma's in here. Yeah, I don't know who Welling is. Was that somebody in the article? Let me see. Yeah, but I mean, it goes on and on. But the funny thing is that but here's something else. They talk to someone else where they say this is also insulting to King to not like this thing. It says Flores and Halliday also push back on the frozen in time image of King that tends to water down the civil rights icon's history, including the intensity of his critics and his condemnation of white moderates. I have no idea what him not liking white liberals has to do with this thing. And then Halliday says anything that celebrates black people, black women, as we live and breathe every day is appropriate because that's the ultimate vision of King. Halliday says twerking, dancing, joy, embodiment, all of those things are part of claiming that personhood. But I mean, King wasn't doing modern dances of the day during the protests. So, I don't understand how they come to that conclusion. But Halliday also offered up this thought, and this I thought was pretty embarrassing. People forget King, quote, had sex. He has lots of kids, unquote, Halliday says. Quote, for a lot of reasons, we create this distance between people who are worthy of honor and people who are sexual. And people who are worthy of honor are not sexual in the kind of traditional understandings of honor. So now people think MLK didn't have sex if they don't support this, and they're rendering MLK asexual. Yeah. Although Colors and Limar are considering responding to the backlash, they ultimately decided social media was not the best outlet for a productive conversation, especially when you have friends who work at LA Times who will do fake newsy pieces to do the job for you, that are masquerading as journalism. Instead, they plan to continue talking about these issues through an upcoming podcast on radical black art. So, promoting more content. The backlash was painful, said Simmons, who took a break from checking her direct messages, but it also revealed something else. And she says that the progress that we think we have made around the work of MLK, there's still much more work to be done. So basically, the backlash shows how much work there is to be done. And it gives a history lesson on twerking. Like, people don't know where twerking is from. You must hate yourself as a black person if you don't enjoy this. You must be suffering from the white gaze. And the things like, by the way, Martin Luther King had sex. Like, it's so embarrassing. Like, I always wonder if the editors in this stuff just kind of like when they edit this stuff, they think it's good, or they just kind of think to themselves, "This is the best we can do." Like I said earlier, the idea of the bigotry of low expectations, the kid who just comes home and you give him from school and he's got the messed up painting or ashtray they made in school for you, and you just put it on the fridge or whatever. I said that earlier today. I wonder if they think this is good or they just kind of find it embarrassing, but think, well, this is the best you could expect from them. I don't know. I'm really, really curious about that. But I do find it like really embarrassing that these are the people that they bring on LA Times, Washington Post, bringing up Megan Thee Stallion. Like, what did that have to do with Martin Luther King and whether that thing was even appropriate? High performance, high art. And this idea, like, I agree that you shouldn't devalue twerking as not being a valid form of African art or Black self-expression. A lot of things are valid, but I wouldn't care if it was the jitterbug, the Charleston. Like, I just think it looks goofy, And the idea of bringing people and the idea that this is about bashing Black women, as if there aren't a ton of Black women who feel this way. So, that I found was pretty interesting. And then this is, oh, hey, what's going on?
I was waiting for you to open this window.
Did you hear the story? Okay,
I heard part of it. I heard enough. I'll say that.
How do you feel as a Black woman? Because I don't want to erase your voice.
I appreciate that part as well. No, okay, so I didn't hear what it was from, but I heard them basically trying to bullshit something about. I heard the Martin Luther King. By the way, he had sex too, and
hold on. I found a tweet that saves some of the best parts. So let me put it up. Someone did a tweet that so it came from the Los Angeles Times of all places, and here's some of the underlined parts. So it felt like high performance, high art conversation, and it felt perfect fit. It's about the rights of Black women, and then it brought up Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B's sex positive, wet ass pussy, and it's time to really start questioning when we get up in arms about our sexuality, and if us getting mad at or
what
fighting
does
this
this have to do with Black lives? Like, I don't know what it has to do with Black lives and people being killed by the police.
I don't know what it has to do with people getting killed by the police. I don't know what it has to do with Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. The white gaze is here. Self-hate is here. And they brought in these scholars who study Black dance and feminism to say that, it's all right. And plus, these are people who are making Martin Luther King asexual, and he believed in Black joy, and he would have enjoyed this thing. And she's a science writer, which is weird. Like she should know better than this. She's not like a dummy. This is her bio, but
I'm so confused. So they were surprised that people would find that controversial, a video that had literally nothing to do with Martin Luther King.
Well, that's where you're wrong. Apparently it did. It had plenty to do because Martin Luther King believed in Black joy, and he believed in having fun, and he had sex. So according to them, it perfectly had everything to do with it.
See, no.
I'm going by what the article said. That's what the article
I know, and I remember you reading that part, and I'm just like, no. Because you know what? I find it's almost like an insult to our intelligence, and I wonder if they don't realize how this sounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, does this really make sense in their minds? I don't understand. Like, this is completely bizarre. Like, I try to defend, at least some element, but I can't. Like, I can't. It's just there's no defending that, because it was controversial because it had nothing to do with Martin Luther King. I don't care what they're saying in that article.
You're not buying it?
I'm not buying that shit. No. What did it have to do with Martin Luther King? And it's like, it's embarrassing, honestly, because they're taking take the conversation of what the organization was founded on to some shit that has nothing to do with that. What does this have to do with addressing police brutality? We're not going to address it because you guys enjoy twerking or enjoy art and dance. I enjoy art and dance and all these wonderful things too. These are beautiful, wonderful things. But,
yeah, and it's nothing to do with disrespecting twerking because, for example,
and that's my point.
I agree. Yeah, for example, I love rap, but if they were, doing a certain type of rap, like if they were doing like booty shaking rap, I wouldn't like that either. Even though I do like that stuff in my personal life,
Exactly. Like I think dance is beautiful. I think I think twerking is overrated at this point. But to try to force this idea of sexuality in a conversation that has nothing to do with sex.
And it wasn't even a good twerk, so that's the other thing. It was just not.
I mean, that's part of it. But even if it were like the most amazing twerk,
exactly,
what does that have to do with honoring Dr. King? What does that have to do with his legacy around, economics, or his legacy around poor people, or just blacks, just addressing anything? Like there are so many other things they could have done to honor Dr. King that has to do with their movement, that I'm so confused on what this twerking shit has to do with anything.
But I'm also trying to figure out why did they have to do a whole LA Times article? Like, I'm just trying to think about her going to her editor and just being like, hey, here's something we have to talk about, because this is so personal and like petty. Like, this is just like, if I had access to the LA Times and then someone didn't like an Instagram post from like Q, like Andre Domis, and I'm like, you know what, I've got to use my LA Times thing to just carry water. Like, it would just be so silly. Like, clearly I think she's part of that kind of camp, that kind of clique, and this is what she's using. She's using this like a blog post, basically. I just think it's something that's kind of silly, personally.
This is her, the author?
Yeah, that's her. I'm not sure why the person put it this way. I don't know if she put this pic. She put an Instagram post. She put an Instagram post announcing the article, and this person put a picture of her and her boyfriend. I don't know if she put this picture alongside. I don't think she did. I guess maybe they just want to point out that she was dating a white guy. That wasn't why I put it on the screen. I put it on to say this is how she described it, where she said that putting respect on twerking is important to me as someone who grew up, quote unquote, twerking to bounce music in daycare. And I was kind of wondering, like, what did it have to do with anything? Like, people weren't disrespecting the twerking. I'm sure a lot of the people who hated the video.
I was doing the Roger Rabbit. What does that got to do with shit?
Yeah, exactly. I just found.
You know what I mean? I was doing the Cabbage Patch. I was doing the bounce. I mean, the old bounce. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of shit. Like, I'm so confused on what that has to do with anything. And those are also art forms. I don't see them trying to save the Cabbage Patch or the Running Man.
And what's interesting is this is what is.
She wasn't electric sliding in the video.
Electric slide.
I'm just saying.
Crip walk for
right.
BLM.
Thank you. That's right. Exactly. So this doesn't. Why twerking all of a sudden? Is that the only black dance y'all know?
Ra made a good point. These articles are SEO'd to hell.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's made. Yeah, it's nothing. They could have just said nothing. The whole thing would have blown over in a few days. Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder why because people already forgot about it. Why did it even need to have an article? But you know what? These people all kind of feed each other content and help each other eat and boost each other up. So you know, it gave her an article to get money for. She gets paid by the word, so that's why, you know, they get some publicity, and then she gets an article and a job out of it. You know, she gets an extra check. So I guess that's what it is. She helps meet her quota of articles that she has to write.
Yeah, I'm just looking at what people. Like, I'm just like so lost on how they tried to sell this shit. And it was like an unnecessary thing. And I agree. If they had to shut the fuck up, nobody would have even been, it would have blown over. We would have forgot about it, would have been whatever. But they felt the need to justify it because they knew that shit was ridiculous.
So here's this. To give you an example of what they don't talk about in the LA Times, and the reason why I was saying like they don't have any good coverage of Black Lives Matter or anything in these magazines, because they get a certain type of, the same type of person that Black Lives Matter is, the same type of hyper educated, feminist, whatever type of, you know, blue check type of person to write. So they're kind of like have a type of class solidarity to them, and they never actually cover anything substantive about Black Lives Matter. Like all the stuff that we've talked about with them and their funding and all that stuff, you'll never find it there. Or you either find it on some place like Black Agenda Report that's very far left, or you'll find it in a conservative place like Forward Magazine. So here's a place left out, right? It's a leftist magazine. And we talked before in here about how 10 out of 40 Black Lives Matter chapter, not reported in any legacy media, mainstream media, wrote an open letter to Black Lives Matter complaining that they've become disillusioned with them. Now, Black Lives Matter Inland Empire, which is in Southern California. Yeah.
So the Inland Empire is like the area like an hour outside of like the city of LA. It's like the desert. Not really, it's not the full desert because it's like still houses and shit there, but it's like San Bernardino, if you guys have heard of San Bernardino or Riverside or Fontana, Colton, places like that. Rancho Cucamonga, if you've ever seen Friday, was it next Friday or Friday, one of them, Friday after next?
Yeah, they departed from Black Lives Matter. They the global network, and this you won't see in LA Times. You'll see a defense of, you know, the twerking video, or you'll see like a bunch of articles all over lambasting Biden and like the Washington Post and these places for not meeting with Alicia Garza. But this is major. 1/4 of their chapters are an open revolt, and now they've started actually seceding. First Cincinnati, then this, and they wrote an open letter. This is their statement. To our community, recently a group of BLM chapters known as the BLM 10 has come forward to voice their concerns in opposition to the global network. Those concerns, along with the egregious conduct the global network demonstrated on Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, have brought us. See, so the actual Black Lives Matter chapters, this was a breaking point for them. But you know, this article is just telling white people, yeah, you know, anyone who told, because I think the article is really for white people. They don't want white people to think that Black people aren't behind Black Lives Matter and their type of Black person, because they sell themselves as Negro whisperers. I think that was really the main point of the article, not to represent a Black viewpoint or speak to Black people, but to lie to white people about, hey, these Black people you see complaining about this is what you should know about them and why they don't count. They're into the white gaze and self-hating, right? But this was a breaking point. This video actually led a chapter, like the final straw to leave, you know, have brought us to the conclusion that continuing to remain silent would be an act of betrayal, while the issues and problems that have been raised, and you can be interrupted any time, by the way, have been well known within our circle for years. It prompted many questions and concerns for us locally. We'd like to let the community know everything outlined in the statement put out by the BLM 10, which is the 10 chapters in open revolt, is valid. We've also reached out to the BLM 10 and offered to sign on in support. So it's not actually one of the original BLM 10. This is the 11th. Hopefully, we can provide insight and clarification into our chapter's history and our relationship with the global network and our commitments going forward. And it said, when BLM-IE first started, we were originally known as the Black and Brown Underground. In 2015, we were approached by an individual named Patrice Cullors, who offered us an opportunity to join the global network and organize as a Black Lives Matter chapter. After hearing her proposal, we believe that our work direction and principles aligned and agreed to join the network, renaming ourselves Black Lives Matter Inland Empire in the process. We were told that the organization we were joining was decentralized and leaderless, but we quickly discovered that was not the case. The global network is a top-down, dogmatic organization that promotes certain chapters that choose to align with the directions and sequester the ones who don't. For us locally, that chapter has been Los Angeles, and it talks about um, all that stuff about the internal politics and whatever. And I'm just going to jump ahead. Clearly, we do not have the same sense of ethics. We no longer feel as we initially did. Our politics align. As a result, we are announcing that we are no longer associated or connected to the BLM global network. As an attempt to distance ourselves, we have decided to rename part of our organization as the Black Power Collective while we restructure, which I think is much better than the first name, the Black and Brown thing. Yeah. Black Power, I think, is a step in the right direction. The use of the BLM name, which we believe was intended to unify our struggle, has been commodified and debased. It is now being used to sell products, acquire book deals, TV deals, and speaking engagements. We have no interest in these pursuits, and we are opposed to the movement to substitute Black capitalism for white capitalism. It has become clear that the global network and certain figures have platformed our struggles with the sole purpose of exploiting our labor.
That's low key sounds like they talking about like that bank shit.
I think so as well. Yeah, for sure. They have that BLM credit card. Furthermore, the issue of greatest concern for us is the relationship between the global network and the Democratic Party. This is hypocritical at best, as a Democratic Party has historically rejected and ignored BLM's demands and has made it clear they are pro-police, pro-prison, and committed to capitalism. From Obama's support of police and his double cross of Erica Garner to top cop Kamala Harris's denial of justice for Matrice Richardson, even going back to the 1994 crime bill authored by Joe Biden, along with the Prisoner Litigation Reform Act that stripped basic human rights from countless Black people, the Democratic Party has literally created the conditions that led to the formation of this movement. Even now, the Democratic Party continues to support imperialism, killing African heads of states, bombing Somalia, abusing immigrants, including those of the Black diaspora, and spreading the U.S. military through Black and brown countries around the world. This is a party that is a threat both here and internationally. To ally with them is to ally against ourselves. They talk about the financial transparency. So everything that we talked about, so basically they don't know where the money's going. So that's something else. And then, so that Martin Luther King Day, it's kind of funny that a Black Lives Matter chapter says that this is a problem. And
it's the words, though. Egregious conduct.
Yeah. So on top of LA Times wasting ink on defending stupid social media posts and it not even reflecting what not only Black people think, but what even other chapters think, what they don't report is pretty interesting because they leave it to Twitter and places like this magazine left out to cover this stuff. So it's like the Black people that we have at these major magazines and newspapers are, to me, pretty compromised. They're not going to tell you anything on the ground, and they're mainly writing for white liberals, not for other Black people. Or
I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off.
No, I'm done. Good.
Well, and the other thing is that, and I like what Expose the Manosphere said. By the way, shout out to Expose the Manosphere. You guys should check out his
page. Great dude. Check the page.
He enlightens me every time he posts something, so y'all should check it out. But anyway, that's a good point because I take community organizing very seriously because that is a very specific action that a lot of people, put their blood, sweat, and tears into. You know what I mean? Like that's a real. It shouldn't be a career as in like it's a business, and that's kind of how I feel like they're treating it. And on top of that, I knew something was wrong when big companies were using BLM as marketing. You know what I mean? I said something's not right about this. But even with that, and I think this is why the other chapter was just like the egregious thing that happened on MLK Day is because not only are you marketing yourself and aligning yourself with corporate America, there's very entities that are at the root of a lot of the conditions that we suffer from as a people. And we're watching you do this. And at the same time, instead of you even addressing that, you up here got videos of people twerking and disrespecting the legacy of the people we should be honoring on their fucking birthday. So I'm just, I can see how this chapter feels. I totally get it because they're, again, like me, they take organizing very seriously. There's a reason why they distance themselves when they realize how deep it got. Because it sounded like they were trying to give it a chance, but it got deep. Look at how bad it had to get, and now,
Yeah.
like, look at how bad it had to get, and it's clear that these people were real organizers because they were an organization beforehand, and based on why they want to distance themselves from BLM is like, for example, their alignment with the Democratic Party, which was really my number one thing when I first realized what was going on, because y'all are the ones who kind of enlightened me on what was happening with BLM. I wasn't keeping up with shit like that. But when I found out that Alicia Garza was on here talking about endorsing Biden, and I was just like, hold up. How are we endorsing the very person that caused conditions that we're suffering from still till this day?
Yeah.
But you're supposed to be the activist organization that's supposed to be radical. You're supposed to be the people that are even more left than the left, and you aligning with the most right left that you in the fucking party.
Yeah. And they changed the story because they used to stay on the website like we're trained Marxists, but then later on they're doing a credit card, and I'm not really sure what they really believe outside of what's convenient at any given time. So I don't know. Like, I like to believe that they were sincere at some point, especially your descriptions of Patrice Cullors. It sounded like there was
I thought, well, Patrice, I don't know the other two, but Patrice, I thought.
Yeah, and she might have been. You never know. But I mean, $10 billion is a lot of money, though. Like, how many people know how real they'd keep it with that much money? I don't know.
Look, I don't understand it. Like, it's just, and the thing is, there hasn't, like you pointed out, they haven't even come out to address any of this.
Yeah, but also, like, when you search like BLM Inland Empire, like, there's not a lot of talk about this. It's like the small places that have to really report this stuff, you know.
Well, also, people don't, like, the Inland Empire isn't like an area people know about or care about. You know what I mean? It's not like BLM Chicago, BLM Miami, BLM LA. You know what I mean? So I think it's just one of those things, like, who cares? It's like saying BLM, you know, Pumpernickel, Iowa.
That is true, but it is still
it should be talked about for sure.
Yeah. I mean, maybe by itself, maybe not, but I think combined with the 10 people, I mean more the whole story, that 10 people filed an open letter and the 11th place just up and left, because at that point that's over 25%. And in a time when, because I have a Google News alert set for Black Lives Matter, so I get something anytime an article is written about them, because I'm curious to see what the coverage is like. And they don't talk about like any of it, but there's so many puff pieces in Washington Post, LA Times, New York Times, all this stuff about, here's Patrice's new art installation that she did, isn't it great? Or here is you know, the twerking video got a lot of positive coverage. So it's like, it's just very interesting. I don't know.
But it's like, it's so crazy because it's almost like, did something happen? Because this is so weird. And I Rock the Mic, I think what you're saying right now, what you said happened, is an example of what happens often. Y'all, when I brought up the letter from the 11th chapter, I had 3 Black women on, I guess, chat house, what's it called?
Clubhouse. Yeah.
Clubhouse telling me that I was just mad that 3 Black women founded the movement. See, those kind of deflection strategies really irritate me, because it's doing two things. It's deflecting from what you're saying and the actual point, because so they don't have to address it, but also it sets you up as some sort of enemy. So it makes BLM sound. Now, you guys know I'm gonna use the C word, cult. It sounds very cultish. If you're against us, this is who you are. You must hate Black women. So now it discredits any point that you made. That's their whole purpose in doing that. Oh, you're discredited because you're a Black man or who believes that this negative thing happened, even though clearly it happened, but we don't want to acknowledge it, so you just hate Black women.
By the way, that's all I had to talk about tonight. But I want to ask if you had anything on your mind you wanted to talk about.
I actually got into an argument on Twitter with one of our fans.
Oh no! Oh, one of our fans, not even an enemy. Oh man, that sucks.
On Twitter, he's Azizi Kareem or something like that. It was
doesn't ring
about
any bells to me, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I bookmarked our argument. Let me see. I should do it on here. So you guys remember my conversation, and it was when me and Kenny were on. We were talking about that meme where the Black girl walks up to the guy and just stands there, and then she walks away and says,
"Oh yeah,
I guess her shooting her shot." Okay, so yeah, we were talking about that. And it was a joke, and so Probable Cause brought it up, and then somebody was commenting, and I was basically saying that if I'm present with a guy and he doesn't talk to me, then I just assume he's not interested. He's clearly not interested. He didn't say anything to me. So that's my argument. Their argument was that just because he didn't talk to you, how is he supposed to know you're interested? But I never said that. What I said was, I never said he knows I'm interested. He might not know. And so Kareem Azizi says, well, then he's not going to walk up to a girl if he doesn't know she's interested. So I said, well, you start up a conversation. And so his argument was that if you start up a casual conversation, you're being deceptive, instead of just straight up asking the person for their number. What do you think? I said it's not deceptive. I said just start a conversation. Just hey, I see, oh, you use Bailey's? Yeah, you were at the grocery store or something. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, what you cooking tonight? You just smile and have a cool, casual conversation. He said that was deceptive.
I won't call it deceptive, but remember when I was talking about how I used to be really bad at getting the hint? Like I was that guy. I think I told you, but it wasn't like I was the kind of person where if like I could go to the club or the bar and start up a conversation or hit on somebody or go to somebody on the dance floor all the time, especially if I got like some overt interest. But I used to be that type. I could never get the subtle, like soft interest. Like, if you're like standing 2 feet away and, you have no reason to be there, you're just standing there. Like I would never get it if it wasn't overt. That was just me. But, I don't think that's deceptive. I just think, this might. So he was saying standing there and not shooting your shot is deceptive.
Yeah. Well, no. So I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'm not getting it. Wow, people are saying that you love starting fights on Twitter.
I do. So let's see. Share the screen.
Oh, thank you, Colonel Gover Gaddafi. This is an apology. So.
Oh shit! What is this?
He's giving apology money. What happened? And he said, "Sorry for wilding out on your mentions of this topic." So, was he in there too? To pay like this, man, he must have been really wilding out.
So, which time? You talking about the first time we had the conversation? Because it might have been in the first conversation. Oh, it was. So because the argument they're making is that just because a guy doesn't talk to you doesn't mean he isn't interested. So I'm saying to me, that's the truth. But I want to go to this. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Colonel Silver.
This might be a good hustle. Just get into arguments with our fans and then make them pay to unblock. Start blocking our fans after you argue with them, and then charge an unblocking fee. And yeah, this might be.
No. We don't want to do nothing like that. Okay.
The hashtag is starting again, so yeah.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, there's gonna be a going forward $100 unblocking fee from Vita. If you see yourself blocked randomly, you know what happened.
Wow. You guys see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I said basically, if I'm not saying he doesn't feel the vibe, so he's interested. The guy's not interested if he doesn't say anything. Clearly, I wasn't attractive enough to get his attention. And then he says, if a man doesn't speak to you, that doesn't mean he thinks you're not attractive enough to get his attention. And so I point out that guys talk to women every day. So he says, guys who approach women willy-nilly anytime, any place, at a bus stop or literally hollering out of a car window tend to be creeps who don't respect boundaries. You're talking about guys who get at women who will holler at anybody. And I wasn't talking about that at all.
Yeah, he read his own
like,
thing in that.
Really extreme. And I basically point out that's not who I was talking about. There's another.
Okay, I'm having trouble telling the tone, but so far it doesn't seem like it's like a serious, like mad argument, right?
It's not an angry argument.
Okay. No, I want to make sure like one of our fans wasn't turning incel or something. So it's a good natured argument.
Yeah, this is good natured.
Okay.
So I'm trying to find.
Are you looking at these comments? Like people are really going full fledged with this Semper Vita movement. Someone said they want to turn it into a movement. Do you know what Findom is? It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, it's a weird financial domination. Is this type of like BDSM, but what it is it's like on the internet where you insult people on social media and then give you money. It's the weirdest thing. Like someone like, you piece of crap worm. I'm gonna unblock you, and then they'll be like, "Oh no, please don't block me!" And they send you like $50, $100. This is the weirdest. Yeah, it's a really strange.
How do I get money to block out? I would love money for that. So Rock the Mic is saying that's what I do. No, that's not what I do. But I would like to learn. So if there's someone who has a tutorial, or if you know someone that can mentor me, please send them my way. You know my Twitter @VitaStar. I'm not against this as a career move. I'm down. So
one of my friends on Twitter does this now. Like she was a regular Twitter account, and then she lost her job. She started doing it, but she doesn't do anything sexual or anything. Like she just like posts a picture of her face looking angry, and she's like, you disgust me. Pay up, worms. And then people will give her money. I'm like, is this real?
That is crazy. Well, people, whatever get people off.
Yeah.
But anyway, so here's where this conversation when we started arguing. So he said, men who disregard whether a woman is interested in them or not, who just approach women willy-nilly, tend to be creeps. Most guys who are normal usually try to gauge whether a woman is interested in them or not before proceeding. Just standing next to them means it's not enough. Or I guess he's saying it's not enough. So I point out what I'm talking about. I try to make it clear. I say they often start a casual combo to see if you're interested. So for example, he says, "Oh, I see you got the last of the bay leaves. You must be cooking something good." And then I smile, just soup tonight, my little thing. You cook, and then I just try to keep the conversation. And then that's how you start a conversation. That's how I was explaining it. Well, Azizi then says, and I thought it got a little weird. Do you know how many times, well, not this part, actually, just after this. So do you know how many times I've said that to a woman and not been attracted to her, trying to flirt with, I'm sorry. Do you know how many times I've said that to a woman and not been attracted to her or trying to flirt with her? And guys who do say those things are a pickup line, are insincere and smarmy. People who strike up phony conversation tend to be deceitful and time wasters.
Yeah, this guy's overthinking it, I think. I don't know.
I think so.
People who think like that becomes a way to just not step to people. Like, I mean, most small talk is kind of phony. That's just what small talk is. It's just a way to get started to get to real talk. Like, I don't think, when someone says, like, crazy weather we're having, it's not like the person is really dying to know what you think about the weather. It's just a weird thing. It's like, I'm like, you're being deceitful. You don't care about the weather, do you? Like, it's people.
It's literally just an opener.
Yeah, I feel like people
engage.
I feel like people like are shy or want to protect their ego, but they don't just want to say, "Hey, I'm afraid of getting dissed or whatever." So they gotta have like some kind of moral reason to it, Or also they don't like when other people are able to do what they don't do and get results. So they have to add something like, "Oh, those guys that do the thing that I won't do, they're just a bunch of like creeps or scumbags or whatever." And it's like, that's the only way you can meet people. This generation is weird though, because I gotta say, when I was younger, like, you would see people hit on people all the time. That used to see that happen. You'd be in the train, you'd be on the bus, and a guy might try to talk to a girl. Sometimes the guy would be a pest. Sometimes the guy would just get the hint if she didn't like it. Like, if the guy went up and she was like, "Oh no, I'm not interested. I have a boyfriend." Some guys would sit down. Some guys would be like that Positive K song, like, "What's your man got to do with me?" Sometimes people would hook up and they would get a phone number, but I don't see any of that, good or bad now. Like, people just be on their phone, in their earphones. Like, I feel like people don't.
It's funny you saying that in a place like New York, where that's like, to me, that was the craziest thing I had ever seen, was how much guys catcall out there and how often. Look, this is the part that tripped me out. So we don't have patrol cops like that, like you guys do, right?
Yeah.
We don't have foot patrol. Most of our cops drive or have motorcycles, have motorcycles or cars or whatever. So I was in New York walking with my friend, and I see this girl in the corner. She just like, like a regular just lady. She looked really nice. She had a sweater on. It was cold. It was wintertime. She had a really fat ass. And the whole time, the cops are literally flirting with her. Like, they're not even patrolling. They're just flirting.
Oh, cops are known for that. Yeah.
Cops. And this is the thing. My friend that I was with basically was like, "Oh, that happens all the time." Like that, like it was nothing to him. And I was like, "How is this not? I've never seen anything like that in my life."
Yeah, like, a lot of women complain like cops spend more time hitting on girls than actually preventing crime. That's all they do. Catcalling, I don't think counts, because to me, catcalling is when you're not really trying to win. Like, you almost are pretending, because no guy really thinks catcalling. Like, I don't think anybody's ever said, like, "Damn, girl, you got a fat ass," and the girl's like, "Really?" And it goes over and talks. Like, I think it's like a way for guys to pretend that they're trying. It's a way to give up without admitting you're giving up. I think most people,
never thought about it that way.
Because who taught me that? There was a girl I used to know, and she would fuck with catcallers, and this used to work. It was funny. Someone would say something like kind of disrespectful, and then she would stop, and she's like, "Okay, let me hear what you got." And the guy would just be like, "Oh," like he didn't have anything beyond that. Yeah, because he was just doing it to kind of, I guess, bond with his boys, and then they could pretend like, "Oh man, these bitches ain't really," So she was, so she stopped, and then I was like, "Oh my god, she's right." Like, none of these guys actually really wants to talk to a girl. It's just it's a way to give up without admitting that you're giving up. You're pretending that you're doing something.
Right.
I think, yeah.
I think that's definitely true. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, so I don't count catcalling. I'm talking about when someone's sincerely trying to get a number, or someone's like, "I want to go on a date with you. What can I do?" Like, I feel like that's what's dead.
Yeah. Well, probably, especially in a place like New York. So I feel like that happens a lot in New York. So it's just a different, because you guys all walk out there. So it's you guys are all in the subway. Like, for me, it's just you don't see that as much in LA, but you see it. But you usually see it at a place like an event. Or maybe on the bus, but it's never just like you're just walking down the street and there's just guys trying to talk to you like there is in New York. Like, so if you're saying you're not seeing it,
that used to happen all the time. I don't even see it on the bus or the train anymore. I'll tell you something even weirder. Forget about romantic. I'll tell you something that I see happens weird a lot here, and this is really interesting. I'll see people on the train going to school or on the bus going to school, like high school.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get on. Their friends will get on at a different stop. Mm-hmm. And then their friend will walk up to them, say like two dudes or something. They'll nod, do a fist bump, and then both stand next to each other, listening to their music or whatever, and they'll spend the whole ride not talking. They'll just be. I'm just like, that's crazy. When I used to run into my friend, we'd ask like, "Yo, did you see it on TV last night? Did you do this, whatever?" And then,
you gotta also remember they probably were talking to their friend all day this morning or all day yesterday. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have that type of technology to be talking to our friends all night.
Oh yeah, that's true. So there probably is nothing to catch up on.
Right.
Man,
I follow you on Instagram. I follow you on, Snapchat or whatever these kids be on.
I gotta say, man, this is Hiroshi in the chat, right? He hashtagged Simprovita, but Hiroshi always makes my eyes pop because it's in Japanese money. So I'm like 500. I just do like a double take and I spit my drink out and I see like the wire. Like, oh, that's yen. Like
Right.
Yeah, it always gives me like a heart attack when I see it. Yeah, but good looking out.
What's that hollaback movement? What is that?
Oh, the hollaback movement was this anti-street harassment movement that they tried to start in New York.
I remember.
Yeah, and remember that like
that girl with she was walking down the street and had these clips of like guys hitting on her and shit.
Yeah, and they edited out all the white guys. So that just made it look like
that's the part that tripped me out because when I was watching, I was like, did she not walk in any white neighborhoods? So I thought that shit was weird. And I know, and then the thing about New York is white guys shout out shit too. So I thought that shit was crazy. I heard it more from the white areas, especially if they were like past a construction site. It was insane. But yeah, so I thought that was weird. And then I also kind of felt like it was weird that got a girl who was shaped in a way that most black guys would like. I thought that was purposeful because most white girls aren't shaped like that.
Yeah. As bait, whatever. Yeah, that was
dark curly hair. You know what I mean? Almost like she's a light skinned girl. I'm like, I don't think any of that shit was an accident.
So I don't think so either.
And then they added in clips of guys just saying good morning.
But one was interesting too. Not only did they edit out white guys, it turned out the guy who made the video had some kind of connection to gentrification groups. He had done work with gentrification groups and he was involved in pro-gentrification groups. So people were kind of saying there was this whole elaborate theory because Holla Back was the organization pushing street harassment, and they were trying to sell the idea of a street harassment app. So basically, you would have this app on your phone. It would be connected to a local precinct. If some men to your imagination was street harassing you, you hit the app, and then the cops on local precincts will come, and
that sounds racist as fuck.
Racist as hell, especially because for a lot of these white women, it doesn't take much. Like the guy could exhale his cigarette too hard, and that's he was trying to smoke rape her or something. And then next thing you know, people were saying this could be the new stop and frisk because that was right when stop and frisk was shut down in New York. Now you have a new pretense to, so you show up. You bother these so-called street harassers. Then you ask them, "Do you have any outstanding warrants?" And people were worried this was going to be the new stop and frisk. And then it ended up dying down. I think because the original Black Lives Matter movement popped off around 2014 and all that stuff, and the optics were too bad. Plus,
I remember when they got called out, but that's the other thing. So they ended up getting called out a lot by a lot of publications. So I remember that when they got exposed, that's when they were talking about the black thing. They were exposed that the girl was like a model. She wasn't like some activist or whatever, how they tried to make it look. Like she was just, this is just average girls, just walking down the street, know?
And she came out and spoke out against it, saying that she didn't think that's what it was going to be. And she didn't like how it edited it. Like, so that didn't add to it. She gave a statement distancing herself from the video and saying that she thought it'd be something different, and then the guy turned out to be involved with gentrification groups, so all that kind of died down. But
I didn't even know about that if the girl came out about it. But I wanted to just to wrap up the thing on Twitter real quick. There was something else he had said and I wanted to remember. He said, okay, so basically I was saying that's how I like to be approached or whatever, and he says, if I see certain things in your shopping cart that suggest you're cooking something that I like to cook, then I'll say something, but that doesn't mean I'm attracted to you. It's just, so you're making braised pork. If I'm attracted to a woman, I'll just be direct. Basically, he's saying like he only has conversation if he's just trying to have a conversation. Otherwise, he'll just be straight up direct, which is fine. But to me, I can't do that. So he says there's no need for false chatter. Just be real. Hey, you got a boyfriend, got a husband, want to go on a date. I'm gonna tell you guys right now,
Yeah.
just real shit. His approach might work sometimes, but when the older you get, do not walk up to women and say no dumb shit like that.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead.
Oh, what I was gonna say is, and this is something I don't understand, but I feel like it's a very black thing to do because I used to do it until somebody pointed out to me that I was doing it. But black guys always lead off with "you got a man" or something with the man. Then do you want to go out? Whereas instead of just saying, "Hey, do you want to?" Like, if she wants to go out, she's gonna go out. But there's always this thing, and I didn't know that someone pointed it out. Like but yeah, I went to a girl once, and I was like, she was on the phone with someone, and I was like, so you talking to your man or what? And she goes, why? You want to talk to him? Like, do you want to date me or like why do you care if I got a man? Like, you know, I was like, damn, that's a good point. And then I started realizing, so then we started talking, and she pointed out like, why do dudes always do that? You know, always ask if he got a man. And I started noticing in rap music, I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like in rap music, it's always an obsession with being with another guy's girl, or like, you know, your girl's doing this, or, you know, I got your girl, this, that. And yeah, I don't know why that is, but that's, I think, is a very
this other thing is corny. Like,
yes, corny.
I'm just being honest with y'all. It's
Yeah.
corny as fuck. Nobody likes that. Hey, you got a man. Hey, you got a boyfriend. Hey, you have a man. It's super rude. It just sounds rude. Just be like, hey, how are you? I noticed that. Blah 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 blah. What did you even notice about her?
But you know what? I feel like that's part. I feel like that's part of the ego protection. Like, they want to know if you have a man before they even spit, so they know how to contextualize what might come next, which is unnecessary. Just get to the point. Yeah.
Yeah, because what if her man is an ass? And she's open, and she's pretty open right now to listening to a guy who might be pretty cool.
I think it's because the guy most likely has a woman. Oh, you know.
That's true too.
something else too. I think most pretty women, especially like if you're a younger guy, you're like below the age of 30, is gonna have guys in her orbit. Might just be a guy that she's gone on a couple dates with. She doesn't know what it's gonna be. It might be a full-fledged boyfriend, but it's very rare that you have, unless it's a girl that just works all the time and goes to school, then she might literally have no guys in her life. But if it's a girl who's young and pretty and has the free time, she's probably gonna have some kind of guy. So don't even bother asking. There's probably some guy in her life. Like, if you're waiting for a girl to have no guy in her life before you can holler at her, if she's not open to talking to you and if something is going on too seriously in her life, you know, she'll let you know. But that's like a sales tactic too. Like sometimes salespeople will actually not sales tactic. I think it's a version of like what girlfriends do, like and wives, because this is what my wife will do. She'll go, "Hey, are you doing anything right now?" And I'm like, "Fuck, can I think of something?" Right? And I'm like, "No." She goes, "Oh well, can you help me hang this?" And I'm like, "What if I just wanted to sit here and do nothing? What if I'm doing nothing, but nothing is what I wanted to do?" Like, you know, but instead of just asking, "Can you hang this?" she tries to box me in a corner. So then
it's like people ask you, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow? You have any plans on Thursday?"
Yeah.
No, tell me what you want first. I'll let you know if I have plans.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're hoping to maybe trick or trap the girl into saying, "Yeah, I don't have a man." Oh, so now you have no real excuse when I come at you and ask you on this date, you know? And they're hoping that she won't want to be that rude to say, "Hey, I have no man, but I just don't want to date you." Maybe.
Okay. So look at this. So I basically, when he says this stupid thing, hey, there's no need for false chatter. Just be real. Hey, you got a boyfriend, got a husband, want to go on a date. Like, you don't know this person. It's probably not a great way to approach that. So I say, hell no, I hate that with a passion. I always turn that down. And I do, because it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me nervous. I don't like that. So he says, because you want to be deceived and hoodwinked and taken for a ride. You're just begging for trouble, Vita.
Why is like the gender stuff so hostile now. Like when I look on the internet and how people talk, it's like, how does anybody like people just show their text exchanges on Twitter and it's always like, trying to embarrass each other and do all this stuff. People just go into, I don't know. They think everyone's ready to trick them or get one over on them.
I just what does it mean that I want to be? How does that mean I want to be hoodwinked and deceived? Because I want a conversation. This is the thing about a casual conversation. One, it makes I can listen to you and I have an idea. Okay, he's paying attention to what I'm doing. He's paying it, or he's just interested. It's just different than he just saw some titties and walked up to me. He just doesn't. You don't like that. I don't like that feeling. And then it just feels like, okay,
and sometimes people want to gauge your energy before they commit to anything. And small talk, small talk can help you do that. Like, if someone just comes up to you, hey, you look good, you want to go out, like sometimes you don't want to commit to a whole date to find out you don't like somebody. So the small talk, helps you figure out. Because there's some people like 2 or 3 sentences in, you realize, oh, this is
so much. And that's the other thing. Like, let me get a vibe from you. Let me figure out like if I'm even interested in pursuing anything. Give yourself a chance to find out my vibe. What if you open your mouth and it turns out I'm ignorant? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
I'll say something about
that's a deal breaker.
I'll say something about guys on average that makes them very different than women. People in the chat could say if they agree or not, but I think guys are not really as good as women at picking up like nuanced energies. I think guys, especially when they're younger, can be very literal in everything. So if a conversation is about small talk or nothing, in their mind, they're getting no information about the other person from it. They think it's like a waste of time. They just want to know, am I gonna get to hook up with you or whatever? Whereas like women could be talking to you about, and it's something that I've learned like when I started like dating women and we became like boyfriend and girlfriend and stuff, and I'll be asking, so when did you first realize you want to go on a date with me or whatever, or they like me, and they'll talk about something that I thought was totally innocuous, but they'll talk about like an energy that they picked up or something I said, like the way you were petting that dog, I could tell you had a good heart. I was like, okay, like little things. And I think guys aren't that emotionally developed and stuff, so they don't realize they can communicate and learn a lot from seeming small talk. Guys will be like, oh, what's the point of that? Like, I don't want to talk about what's in your shopping cart.
That's so funny. I was just looking at a stand-up from this comedian. I forgot his name, John Davis or David. He's really Brian Davis. And it's like a Laugh Factory stand-up. He basically talks kind of about what we're talking about. He said the thing about women and men is women think men are like them, right? He said men are very logical. The problem with women is that we're logical and emotional. So even if we could be connected to the emotional side, and then that like they get lost in that, and it's like, okay, you can't just assume I can keep up with that when we were talking logical right here, and then you switched over to some other thing, and it doesn't even connect to. It was a funny stand. I can't tell jokes, but I was really thinking about that when I was watching. I was like, yo, that's funny because that's exactly what it feels like. Men, I think a lot of it comes from the fact that men or boys very early are taught to shut off their emotions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with girls, total opposite. So I think we've had practice for, using our limbic system for, our entire lives. And men don't even realize they don't have the same access.
Yeah, I think it's 2 things. I think one is what you said. Men have been taught to shut it down, and women haven't. But I think something else too. Not only have men taught to shut it down, and women haven't, but women have been encouraged to actively develop it. And what I mean by that is,
yes,
if you think about what boys and girls do during recess, when I used to, be in grammar school or high school, whatever, what did the guys do? Like, we would play basketball. We would, if it was like younger, like elementary school, we would play tag or, back when like rapping in a cipher was a thing, we would like sit in the lunch table and rap, and like what the girls do, girls would talk about the boys or the other girls. Like they would gossip, and people think of gossip as this you know wasteful activity, but you build a lot of emotional intelligence from that. Like, what did this person say to you today? What does it mean? Like, girls would brainstorm,
and you break down what certain things mean. What did it mean? Well, he said this, but then he said that. So what do you think he meant by that?
Yeah, and guys don't really
I don't do that like that.
Yeah, guys don't really do that. So that's so yeah, it's two things that we're taught to shut things down, but also we just are very activity based. We bond through activities. We have to be like, doing something, whereas women can just bond through talking. And I think you really get that skill. Because yeah, I remember my friend took me to this girl's he was dating party, and so we knew the girls who were the hosts of the party, and well, they were women. We were grown, and I remember we sat with them, and they were just talking about everybody at the party because we were cool with them. They're like, yeah, look at all those guys around that girl there, and none of them had the balls to hit on her, just hanging out there. They disgust me. They have no spine. And I was like, shit. If I was just standing there, I wouldn't even think that I was giving all this off. And they had a take and a read on everybody at that party. Whereas me and my cousin who went there, we just gauge people as they came across us. Like, if we met one person, we're like, oh, this person looks okay. How are you doing? Talk to them. Oh, that person seemed cool or weird.
It's funny because my brother and I talk about how, like, because sometimes my brother, he's whatever he's looking at or doing, he's extremely focused on that, nothing else, right?
Yeah.
So if you're talking to him and he's doing something, he didn't even hear what you said. He has to like literally stop what he's doing to talk to you, right? Depending on what it is. So I always think about like how men, at least in like, for example, in this, like men tend to be very focused on whatever it is they're focused on, and everything else they're not even paying attention to, which I would think is crazy because I'm constantly, and I don't mean like not paying attention to surroundings. I mean, everyone does that, but I mean like pay attention to what people are doing around you. What are they saying and how are they saying it? What does a body language look like? And I know I do that, and I'm very strong in doing that because, I mean, just naturally, because I always want to know if I'm stepping into a safe situation, right? Are these people in the middle of a fight? Are these people, the thing is, I can do that while I'm doing other things. So like being a nanny, you kind of have to know how to do that. I'm sure it's probably similar being a parent, right? Which is you have to be able to keep your eye on your kid while handling whatever you got to do in the house and be able to give your child emotional attention so they don't think you hate them while you wash dishes.
Yeah, and what's interesting is like they not only scanned the whole party, but made judgments about. And I was thinking, what if that guy is just there, because it's like, oh no, he wants to talk to her. He just is too much of a pussy to do it. All this stuff. I started realizing. So not only to make assessments about everybody, you might be out of the game before you even get to talk to them because they already have a judgment on you. So you go up and talk to them and it goes badly. And you think, oh, I must have said something really bad. It might have been something that they saw you do 30 minutes ago, when they first looked at you, it made them write you off.
I'm gonna be real with you. It could even be the way a guy did something. Not even just what he did, but the way he did it. How his body moved when he did it. Like a guy's walk is really important, by the way. Most guys should know that. And it's subconscious for most women. So most women are like, oh, I don't care about the walk. Most times it's not conscious. But how you walk is really a testament to the kind of personality do you have. Do you walk slumped over? Are you more confident? Do you look people in the eye? Those kind of things, we subconsciously pay attention to, and they give us an idea of the kind of person that you might be. I'm sure those girls were accurate that those guys wanted to talk but were scared.
Yeah. I think they were right when they said it. I looked and I was like, yeah, I can see it. Like I wasn't. I mean, I was just trying to be contrarian, just to stick up for the guys. But I do think they were I do think they were right. What this guy Kid Tempest said, I used to read a lot of evolutionary psychology, and I don't know how much of it is true because a lot of it is kind of bullshit. But that was the claim. What he's saying was the claim of evolutionary psychology. They said that supposedly there's been studies that women have better peripheral vision and multitasking, and supposedly it has to do with with gathering, and also having to be wary of predator men and other things. And for guys, they had to hunt, so it's more in their, like, people and animals who have to hunt and to have worse peripheral vision because they have to be very good at the straight ahead. And that was the claim of the evolutionary psychology book I was reading, but I have no idea if that has any truth to it. Yeah, yeah. My condolences. It's true. A lot of it's kind of bull, but some of it makes sense.
What was you go back to? You had one up there I wanted to respond to. You took it off.
Oh, was it this one?
Yeah. So I thought this was interesting because that could be true. And I also want to say another thing but men do have that ability, but it's usually triggered through trauma. So what happens is, let's say you grew up in a space where, shit can pop off at any minute. And I had a boyfriend that was like that, right? He used to be in the streets or whatever. And when we went somewhere, he was always looking around. Whereas the door, who kind of people, this guy has on gloves in the summer, we got to go. So some people, I think, have that ability, but it's usually kind of I call it a superpower that's developed through a trauma because you've always had to learn how to keep yourself safe. So I think men do have the ability or can have the ability. I mean, not to say it can't happen naturally. Maybe some people just are. But I do think that, and my thing over. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I remember how my ex would always pay attention to where we were at and what was happening and who was there and how everything looked in the space. And he was a scanner, he had to scan. And I heard Jay-Z talk about that too. Like he knows how to go into. He said because of how I grew up, I know how to go into. He talked about my David Letterman thing on Netflix. I know how to. I can tell somebody's carrying a gun from right here, from where I'm sitting. I can tell somebody over there is carrying a gun, and I 100% believe that because I've been told that from people before.
Yeah. Yeah. This is similar, right? This is what the evolutionary psychology book was claiming. In animals and predators and prey have different fields of vision, right? So if you see, the predator's vision is a big area that's seen by both eyes, and the prey has a very different thing. And it says predators often have eyes located in the front of their skull. Eyes facing front give predators the ability to focus on and target their prey. A coyote example of a predator. So the very shape of placement of the eyes is different. Prey often have eyes located on the side of the skull. Eyes on the side give the prey a larger field of vision. Supposedly, they've done tests on men and women, and supposedly men have a field of vision and focus that's more similar to predators, whereas women have one that's more have a field of vision that's more similar to prey. And traumatized people, like you said, which was very interesting that you said, traumatized people tend to develop that same type of prey peripheral vision. So that's very interesting.
That's funny. I didn't even know that. I mean, I knew because I thought about that, or I knew that because I teach about trauma, but I didn't know that was going to come out in what you just pointed out. So let's know the backs of what I said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's very much a prey adaptation, and sometimes some people grow up feeling like prey. Yeah, it's very.
And also, the other thing is sometimes I think certain abilities women have are heightened because we're the child bearers. You know what I mean? And we're the nurturers of children. When I mean nurture, I mean biologically. So I think sometimes because of that, we have we have a very heightened sense of smell, for example. You know what I mean? There's just certain things I think we're able to do because we're the ones who have children. Like, for example, our bodies naturally will flow with oxytocin when we have our kids. Men have to be involved with the baby day to day for that same oxytocin to come.
Yeah, Kit Tempest, I wasn't saying that you were talking about evolutionary psychology. I was saying that I read what you were talking about in evolutionary psychology, but also what you're talking about still applies because um the dynamic you're talking about women being less safe has been around throughout evolution. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Hey, Champagne Communista. Hey, Riandes. Hey, Musa. There's a lot of people. I think a lot of people came from the other stream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of names I don't usually see, but
Well, welcome.
yeah, well, yeah, welcome. Um, yeah, but I don't know. I feel like if I was young and single now, it must be tough, man, because I feel like people just don't talk to strangers anymore. And even the guys, like what you said is what you put out there, I thought was really strange because I feel like black guys used to not talk like that before. Like have a lot of excuses not to. You were kind of expected. I feel like as a black guy, it was normal to be raised to be expected to go and holler at girls. Like that was like almost a rite of passage. It was more like something like it was only when I went to college and I would start making like white friends. It was only like the white guys that I met that would be like, talk to a girl I don't know, forget that. That's what a frat's for. I can go to a frat party. Like they thought it was insane to talk to.
Really?
Yeah. Like
That is interesting. I
I think
wonder the history of that then.
I think that's why the pickup artist movement was so big because that was the first thing that told white guys, hey, you can actually just go talk to girls you don't know, you know. And it blew their minds, and I was like, black guys have always been hollering at girls they don't know.
Oh, and another thing I wanted to say, because you brought up the point about women being able to pick up on certain vibes and things. The men who get women real easily, that's what they know how to do.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's one of those things like women. You can use your powers for evil or you can use your powers for good, right? Because certain people, and women do the same thing. They know how to manipulate other people because they know how to pick up on how people think. And that's really what pickup artistry really is. It's just how understanding the mind and how it works and how people think. It's like con artists. You ever study books around con artistry, which I love those kind of books because they really give you information on psychology and they understand psychology better than fucking psychologists. They know how to manipulate your mind so you think you're thinking something on your own. But go ahead.
Oh, I was listening to you. What I was listening, no, and I agree with you about the con artist stuff and everything. What I was going to add to that is, I feel like the people I know who are most successful at that stuff were the ones who made the girl, who switched things around, who made the girl feel like the guy in the situation and position themselves as like, you know, the woman, like they would be the ones who would act less impressed. Like I'm talking about the guys I know who were best with women. They had a way of making and I don't think they even did it like on purpose in a calculated way, but I just think they had a way of carrying themselves or whatever that made the women feel insecure and nervous the way the guy usually does it. You know, like they make either something about them made them think they had a lot of options or had like a lot of confidence or the kind of things that the woman normally has more of in an interaction, you know?
Why do you assume that?
Well, because of the way they would act. Like I'll give you an example. You're saying, why do I assume that's the dynamic that was going on?
No. That women aren't the nervous ones. We're nervous as fuck.
No, not the nervous ones. I think they tend to be the less nervous ones. As in, for example,
I don't know. I'm nervous as fuck. Even to this day, I hate guys approaching me because it makes me nervous.
No, when I say nervous, I mean nervous about rejection. As in,
okay.
9 times out of 10, if a woman, a guy, the guy which is a woman, the woman's gonna tend to more likely than not have a better result than the guy. Like even if you're a good-looking guy, you don't have if you're a good-looking woman, you know that you pretty much can get some kind of positive attention from any straight guy you talk to. He might not be the best guy. He might not want a relationship. He might have some kind of problem, but you can at least get positive attention. But you could be a good-looking guy and you can go out and have no idea if you're gonna get a number or not. Even though you're a good-looking guy, you just don't know. You can't take anything for granted. And that's what I mean by being nervous. Like, you know, are nervous about rejection or acceptance. I think women in general just have higher value.
Oh, okay. Then I think I understand what you're saying. So your friends basically had the ability to make it so almost like the woman hopes that you give her the attention, because usually maybe she's used to having that power in the situation.
Yeah.
Where the guys try to impress her, but now she wants to impress you because you're different. And it's being with you is not going to be like with any other guy. You're something special about you
that I can't take for granted.
I can't take for granted. That I feel like and the thing is, I think women like that because it's like you almost like you kind of like respect them in a way.
Yeah.
And like I said, so you can use your powers for good or evil, so that can go any kind of way.
Yeah, exactly. People in the chat are saying all types of stuff about how no one talks anymore. Everyone's on the apps, and that's totally true. I've been in bars.
No, that's 100% true. The only reason I was even on Tinder at all is because I was like, man, how do you meet people? And they were like, oh, you got to go on Tinder. And
it's got to be worse with the pandemic now. Now people really probably don't. Yeah.
Well, yeah, nobody's talking to each other because you can't even stand next to nobody. But I'll
give another example, right? With all that stuff with the apps and everything, is I'll be in bars and stuff, and there's some bars by my house that I'll go to because I have friends that hang out at the bar, and I'll just like hang out and whatever, and I'll see single people by themselves at the bar on the apps, and sometimes like a guy and a girl, they'll both be on Tinder swiping, and I'm like, it's not even occurring to these people to try to talk to each other. They're so nose down into the apps, and I see more people on bars swiping than hitting on each other.
Yeah, and I've done that before. I've definitely done that. Sometimes it's like, well, nobody's talking to me, so I guess I'll just swipe until somebody does. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go in a second, but
yeah,
that's my phone. But okay. Yes, I think the game has definitely changed a lot. Technology, I think a lot of times guys just don't want to be misconstrued as a creep, because you gotta remember, women also get 50% creeps in their approach. Like I'll probably even more than that. And if there are any women in the chat, you guys can, maybe give me a better percentage for yourself. But I know for me, about 75% of the guys that talk to me are going to be weird or creeps.
And creep is like the worst anti-male slur that you can have. There's nothing worse for a guy. I don't know. We did a whole episode about that. We had a whole conversation about the word creep. This professor wrote a whole paper on the word creep and how creep is the ultimate bad thing you can call a guy. Like, it's better to be a jerk, pushy, almost like not a rapist, but rapey, as in like being too forward and aggressive, than to be a creep. Because the thing about creep is just the social stigma, the social death of a guy. Like, there was a guy in my to give an example, there was a guy in my school who got accused of rape. He was accused of rape. He beat the case, but you would think that stigma would totally, kill him. But he got the baddest girl in the college as his next girlfriend, which like blew all of our minds. We're like, how the hell did he pull that off? But I've never seen anybody come back from creep. Like
wow.
if you've done something creep. What's that?
No, that story was wild. But to go from rape to creep, it's just
but I've never seen anybody come back, because there was one guy from my school who was busted doing silent phone calls on girls. He did silent phone calls. He would call girls and then like either be silent or make kissing sounds like.
Oh no! Yeah.
Then hang up. No. Somebody figured out it was him.
You need social death.
Yeah, that guy was destroyed, but the guy who had the rape case came back, and I always remember, I could not believe that guy came back. I've never seen anybody come back from creep ever.
Yeah. Well, the thing about creep is that it's a certain type of guy, and it's in LA we call it's like out in LA we have a very we say creep, but we also really just say weird. Weird is really our word. So we'll be like he's a weirdo, he's weird. Because when guys, I don't know if guys know that they're creepy, but when you start doing things like calling and making kissy noises or going right to sex jokes out of nowhere they're not even like subtle or funny. They're just like basically it's like clear you just want to know something about my body. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
hold on. I like this comment. Guys are weird to begin with. That's very true. I'm not gonna argue with that.
But I'm gonna have to go, guys. I really, really love you guys because you guys are so like nice to me, and I appreciate you all. You gonna continue? You got more to talk about, T?
Oh no, I'm done.
So you're done too. Okay, so I guess we're signing off then.
All right. Take care.
You're terrible at closing.
Yeah, I'm horrible.